Ladies and gentlemen, Gloria Steinem.
Well, listen, do I have news for you? First of all, many of us have been working on a brand new Equal Rights Amendment, which will be inclusive by race and sexuality and ethnicity. I mean, you know, it will just, you know, it's a good thing Phyllis Schlafly is dead, because this would kill her. And it will much more resemble the more recent constitutions in the world that are more inclusive. And that will be before you in the weeks to come, right? It needs to go through lots of organizations, but we've been working very hard, and it's very exciting, and I'm very gratified by it. But that is future news. Right now, we have breaking news, which Sherrilyn Ifill is going to come and read to you as what is going on in Washington right this minute.
Good evening, everyone. I hate to interrupt your dinner, but some of you may be aware that about an hour ago, Senator Elizabeth Warren stood on the floor of the United States Senate during what will be all-night session of debate about Senator Jeff Sessions, who's been nominated to serve as Attorney General of the United States. So. And you can go on our website and read everything we have to say about Senator Sessions. We've known him for a very long time. In 1985, he prosecuted 3 of our clients in Perry County, Alabama, for voter fraud. He was unsuccessful in that prosecution, but the manner of that prosecution, the conduct of that prosecution, and the intimidation of black voters in Perry County lasted for decades after that prosecution. So we've known him for some time. But Elizabeth Warren stood to speak today to read from a letter that was written by Coretta Scott King in 1986 and sent to the Senate Judiciary Committee. In 1986, Senator Jeff Sessions was nominated to serve as a federal district judge. And many of you know the Senate Judiciary Committee rejected him for that because of the prosecution of the Perry County 3, our clients, and because of the testimony that they received about the way he had conducted himself on various matters involving race as the U.S. Attorney in Alabama and in his practice. So Coretta Scott King wrote this letter. It's dated March 19th, 1986. We heard about the letter. I checked the record from 1986. It never made it into the record. So we don't know what Senator Strom Thurmond did with the letter that she sent. We learned through the press that the current Senate Judiciary Committee had the letter, chaired by Senator Grassley, but Senator Grassley refused to make the letter public, and under the Senate rules, the letter could not become public unless he chose to release it, and so other members of the committee could not talk about the letter. The day of the Sessions hearing, finally this letter emerged. We found one in our files. And shared it with the committee, and it was admitted by Senator Chris Coons. Tonight, Senator Warren tried to read from that letter. Senator Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, insisted that after she read some of the letter, that she was violating a Senate rule against impugning another senator's conduct during a debate. And by a vote of, I think, 49 to 43, she was silenced from reading the words of Coretta Scott King tonight. The debate continues. When you go back to your rooms, you can turn on C-SPAN and watch it all night if you like. That's what I'll be doing. And, but I think this is a shocking moment of the kind I was trying to describe earlier. A United States senator stopped another United States senator from speaking, but more importantly, stopped her from reading the words of Coretta Scott King, a revered civil rights leader in her own right, and the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. And this happened. This isn't like something that, you know, they're talking about. This actually happened. Senator McConnell said she was warned, but she persisted and made her be seated. So here we are in this room, all these powerful women, and I just want to say that a United States senator, woman, who's kind of powerful in her own right, was silenced tonight from speaking the words of another powerful woman, Coretta Scott King. So I'd like to read just like 3 excerpts from the letter for you. So there's a cover letter and then a 9-page statement. I will not read the 9-page statement. But those of you who want to follow me on Twitter, I've just tweeted it out so you can read the full letter yourself, or you can go on our website and read it. The letter is addressed to the Honorable Strom Thurmond, Chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And she says, I write to express, and it's dated March 19th, 1986. I write to express my sincere opposition to the confirmation of Jefferson B. Sessions as a federal district court judge for the Southern District of Alabama. My professional and personal roots in Alabama are deep and lasting. In fact, as an aside, Coretta Scott King was actually from Perry County, the place where he prosecuted the voting rights activists. She goes on to say, anyone who has used the power of his office as United States Attorney to intimidate and chill the free exercise of the ballot by citizens should not be elevated to our courts. Mr. Sessions has used the awesome powers of his office in a shabby attempt to intimidate and frighten elderly black voters. For this reprehensible conduct, he should not be rewarded with a federal judgeship. I regret that a longstanding commitment prevents me from appearing in person to testify against this nominee. However, I've attached a copy of my statement opposing Mr. Sessions' confirmation. Just 2 other sections that may be of interest. She talks about the prosecution of the Perry County 3 in 1985 and describes the way in which the investigation went forward. She said that Mr. Sessions, as U.S. Attorney, exhibited an eagerness to bring to trial and convict 3 leaders of the Perry County Civic League, including Albert Turner, who was a very close friend of the Kings, despite evidence clearly demonstrating their innocence of any wrongdoing. Furthermore, in initiating the case, Mr. Sessions ignored allegations of similar behavior by whites, choosing instead to chill the exercise of the franchise by blacks by his misguided investigation. She goes on to say, the scope and character of the investigations conducted by Mr. Sessions also warrant grave concern. Witnesses were selectively chosen in accordance with the favorability of their testimony to the government's case. Also, the prosecution illegally withheld from the defense critical statements made by witnesses. Witnesses who did testify were pressured and intimidated into submitting the correct testimony. Many elderly blacks were visited multiple times by the FBI, who then hauled them over 180 miles by bus to a grand jury in Mobile when they could more easily have testified at a grand jury 20 miles away in Selma. These voters and others have announced that they are now never going to vote again. She goes on and then says, therefore, it is my strongly held view that the appointment of Jefferson Sessions to the federal bench would irreparably damage the work of my husband and countless others who risked their lives and freedom over the past 20 years to ensure equal participation in the democratic system. We still have a long way to go before we can say that minorities no longer need be concerned about discrimination at the polls. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Asian Americans are grossly underrepresented at every level of government in America. If we are going to make our timeless dream of justice through democracy a reality, we must take every possible step to ensure that the spirit and intent of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the 15th Amendment of the Constitution is honored. And then she concludes with, I do not believe Jefferson Sessions possesses the requisite judgment, competence and sensitivity to the rights guaranteed by the federal civil rights laws to qualify for appointment to the federal district court. Based on his record, I believe his confirmation would have a devastating effect on not only the judicial system in Alabama, but also on the progress we have made everywhere toward fulfilling my husband's dream that he envisioned over 20 years ago. I therefore urge the Senate Judiciary Committee to deny his confirmation. These are the words that were deemed inappropriate to read tonight on the floor of the United States Senate. And so once again, I urge you to get in this fight, to get active and to understand what is truly at stake. It may not be your voice today. Today it was Senator Warren. And maybe your voice tomorrow. So I ask you to get in the fight, to pay attention, to make your voice heard. You are influencers. And to recognize that we are in the fight of our lives. And we can do it, but it's going to really take all of us. Thank you very much.